Some of you may remember last December when I got up here to preach, I sang. And I thought about doing that again, and then I realized that some people are still in therapy because of that incident. So that was an easy decision to go away from, right? But do we have any controversial decisions that we have to make in today's world, right? Is there anything that people are on completely different sides of an issue about? Do we wear a mask? Do we not wear a mask? Does the mask do any good? Does it not do any good? Does it help prevent us from catching the virus, or does it help to stop the spread of the virus? And then there's the vaccination. Do we get the vaccination? Do we get the shot? Do we not get the shot? You listen to all sides of the story, right? They said if you get the shot, you'll go crazy. If you don't get the shot, you'll go crazy. If you do this, if you do that, you listen to the experts. One expert says this, one expert says that. Which one do we believe, this or that? Life is not that easy, right? Life is about making decisions. But the decision that we have to make is that we will do the research. We will look into it ourselves so that we can make an informed decision. The USCCB, the bishops, has put out a letter about the morality of the vaccine. But I'm going to say this. The best person to talk to is probably your doctor, because he's the one who did the research. He's the one that knows what it's about. Your neighbor may not know as much as your doctor does, believe it or not. And for those on Facebook, there are a lot of experts on Facebook, but not all of them are correct. So inform yourselves. Do the research. Talk to your doctor so that when you make that decision, it's a good decision. But we have to know as Catholic Christians that Mary's yes is the same thing that God is calling each and every one of us to, for us to do His will in our life. And that's what Mary did when she did this. This whole salvation story thing starts out with a 14-year-old girl. And there's a beautiful painting called the Annunciation, where Mary is sitting on the side of a bed, and there is this bright light on the other side of the room. Oh, wouldn't it be awesome to make decisions if angels came to us, that we would see this bright light and they would tell us what to do and how to live and how to follow? But you see, Mary was informed. Mary practiced her faith. She knew what the prophecy was. So when the angel came to her, it was not hard for her to say yes. It was hard because she was afraid, right? I mean, any one of us would be afraid. But she didn't tell him. She said, "Oh, wait, let me go talk to my neighbor. Let me check with my parents. Let me check with this one." Her faith was able to make her say, "Let it be done to me as you say." She accepted God's will in her life. And you see, each and every one of us are asked to do the same thing. We're all asked to say yes, that fiat, every day to God's will in our life. In the big things, hopefully we are doing it. But God is also calling us in the little things. You see, when Mary said yes, it changed her life. She surrendered to God's will, and it changed her life forever. But when she changed her life, it gave life to the rest of the world, because Jesus Christ came to save us. Now, you see, Mary had free will. Mary could have said, "Oh, no, not my body. You're not doing that to me." But by Mary's sacrifice, she brought life to the world. And think about it. Every time we're asked to sacrifice for something, it brings life to something else. Even in a small part. Even in the little ways that God is calling us, it brings life to the rest of the world. We think about changes, right? The church, everybody, so many people have told me, well, the church has changed so much. The church has changed. I don't understand the church. It's changed so much. Well, you know what? If we think back years and years ago, maybe there are some changes. But I listened to a talk one day from Brent Petrie, Dr. Brent Petrie, and in that talk he made a statement that I never forgot. And he said, when we forget why we do something, we eliminate it. I'm going to say that again. When we forget why we do something, we eliminate it. And some of the things that we used to do as a church, we have eliminated because we forgot why we did it. I was reading a story this week when I was preparing, and it talked about the Angelus. And if any of you remember what the Angelus was, it was a prayer that was said 3 times a day. At 6 in the morning, at noon, and 6 in the evening. And people didn't have a phone that they could set or, alarms that followed them around, but at 6, noon, and 6 in the evening, they would stop what they were doing and say the Angelus. The church bells used to announce the Angelus at those 3 times a day. The opening prayer, the collect today, is the final prayer of the Angelus. It takes about 3 minutes to say the whole thing. But I'm going to challenge you, because everybody's going to be starting to look for something to do for their New Year's resolution. So I'm going to give you a suggestion. It's to say this prayer at least 2 times a day. If you're not up at 6 o'clock, okay, you're excused from that one. But to try to at least commit to twice a day. And if you want to change the world, you have to change yourself first. If we change this, we can change the rest of the world. How? By saying yes to God. The prayer that I'm talking about, it's in your missalette on page 301. And the whole thing is there, but this is the part that we need to start saying at least twice a day. Pour forth, we beseech you, O Lord, your grace into our hearts, that we, to whom the incarnation of Christ your Son was made known by the message of an angel, may be his passion and cross be brought to the glory of his resurrection, who live and reign with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God forever and ever. Can you imagine how our lives will change by the beginning of next Advent if we started saying that prayer twice a day, at noon and at 6 p.m.? The story I was reading was about a young priest who was was stationed with an older priest, and he said there was about 12 guys around the table because this priest opened his rectory to the homeless in the city. And he said the church bell started to ring at 6 in the evening, and it was supper. And he stopped eating, and he made the sign of the cross, and he said this prayer. He was faithful to the Angelus. We tend to lose those things because we forgot why we did them. This prayer helps to remind us that God came to Mary, and Mary said yes, and he comes to each and every one of us every day and asks us to say yes. We said yes to the big things, right? We come back to church. We have to wear a mask in church because this is how we get to keep our churches open. But God is calling us in the little things also. A good priest friend of mine has a saying that he says every year for Christmas, and I share it with you again. And he said that for us, when we look at the manger, he said, if the wood of the cradle does not become the wood of the cross, he said, we lose the message, the meaning of Jesus coming to earth. His purpose was to come here to save us. And it all started with Mary's yes. The God of the universe is calling us to say yes in the little things, to do his will each and every day. give you a little spoiler alert, which I like to do at this time of the year. The song about Mary, did you know? I'll give you the answer. She did, because the angel told her so.